Good afternoon, everybody. It's about 3:04 on this Wednesday, January 16, 2013. You can see the title down below. Basically, it says movies that I feel need to be remade or given the remake treatment. Now, I know a lot of fans out there, a lot of moviegoers and stuff are sick and tired of the remakes. You know, whether the remake is good or it's bad or it's a neutral. You know, not a lot of people pretty much are getting a little sick and tired of it. Well, here's the thing. No matter what you say, no matter how you feel, the remakes are always going to be. We're always going to get remakes. We're always going to get a remake of this and a remake of that. Whether it's a remake of the Batman franchise, like we did with the Dark Knight trilogy. Whether it's a remake of the Superman franchise, which we got recently with Superman Returns, which didn't do so well, but I thought was okay, and sort of took place between 3 and 4, or Man of Steel, which is a completely remake of the origin story directed by Christopher Nolan, the guy that did the Dark Knight trilogy. You know, so no matter what you look at, you're always going to get something remade in some kind of way, if you will. And there's a lot of movies out there in the past decade, the past 20 years, past 30, past 50, past 80 years, if you will, maybe even past 70 years, that when you look at them, you say, I wonder how that, when you look at them, you ask yourself, I wonder how well that movie would get over if it was made nowadays. That's the question a lot of people have. And it's not just the question, and that's not just a question we as moviegoers have. It's a question that writers, directors, screenplay people, all in Hollywood, all around the world, whether it's in Hollywood, whether it's, you know, in Europe, Japan, Mexico, Canada, South Africa, Germany, Australia, the one question they have is, just like us moviegoers, is how would this movie fit in today's modern standards if it was made today? And that, most of the times when they ask themselves, what would it be like if it was made today, that usually, in my opinion, leads to a remake. To them actually wanting to make it happen. And we've seen it. We've seen it throughout the past decades, if you will. I mean, take a look. One of the movies that came out to theaters, I didn't think it did so well, was Red Dawn this past year. Red Dawn, which was a remake of the original Red Dawn. Go figure. Movies like that, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, again, you have all the remakes always happening. I mean, heck, what else? You have Sparkle, for example. Sparkle got remade. Sparkle, which was a 1970s movie, got remade. Movies like that. Now, I'm trying to think of other ones that got remade as well, but the point I'm trying to make is remakes are always going to be. Remakes are always going to exist. So that is why I'm doing this video, to kind of tell you, in my opinion, what remakes I would like to see of certain movies of certain movies, if you will. Now, some of the movies I'm going to mention are very well known. Some are kind of like with a cult following, but are kind of independent ones. So let's take a look at them, shall we? Let's go and start with the classics. Let's start with the Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life. Now, I know you'll probably think to yourself, I should say, that Wonderful Life already got remade in the form of The Family Man. Now, you might say that, and that might be true. Now, you might say, well, Wonderful Life has sort of been parodized and remade several times over, like with the Wonderful Merry Muppet movie, if you will, the Wonderful Merry Muppet movie. And that might be true as well. And yeah, we've seen countless adaptations of it in its own, with other medias, in their own unique way. But I'm talking about basically a straightforward remake. Set it in modern times if you want to, just like a lot has, but keep it true to the story. You know what I'm saying? Keep it true to the story. And if you want to, if you're somebody that wants to remake it and you want to say, okay, we'll remake it, but we're going to set it back in the times when it was made, that's fine too. But nowadays, anytime a remake based on something like, say, Wonderful Life happens, it's always the same story. It always stays true to the story, if not adds more to the story from what it's being adapted from the source that's being adapted from, I should say. But it always sets it in modern times. So whether it's set in modern times or set in the times that the original was made, I would like to see a remake. I would definitely like to see a remake happen. I really would. And the person I think that should play the Jimmy Stewart's character, I can't think of the character's name right now. Can't think of it. I'm trying to pound it into my head here. But the Jimmy Stewart character, and I'm pretty sure some of you is going to mention it right down below. You're going to say, oh, it's this guy. So, again, I'm trying to think. George, that's what his name is. The George character. The George Bailey character, that's what it is. The person I think I would like to see play the George Bailey character in modern times, perfect actor for it. The guy that recently showed that he could give a good performance in a very serious movie, and he's proven it many times over, let's face it, Ben Affleck. That's who I think could really play George Bailey. I mean, you take a look at how well he did in Argo, how he's done in anything he's been given. Ben Affleck, in my opinion, could definitely play a good George Bailey if a remake happens. Now you might say, well, what about his wife? What about the girl? Well, I think if you want to give someone that role, I think there's no other better solution. To be honest with you. Checking my time there because I'm on a 15-minute time limit. But I think there's no better solution than to give it to Sandra Bullock. I'm being honest with you. I know you're thinking, well, Sandra's a little older, isn't she? Wouldn't she be more suited for another role? Maybe, but I think Sandra Bullock or Jennifer Lopez, in my opinion, would be the two best candidates to play George Bailey's wife in the remake, if you were to do it that way. I mean, they're perfect candidates. They've got, to me, when you put, I've seen this. You put Sandra and Jennifer in very serious situations, and they, as anybody knows, can act to the best of their abilities. They can pull it off. Take a look at The Blind Side, for example, with Sandra. There's your answer. To me, these are the two best candidates. Now you might say, well, what about the Angel? The Angel's got to be an old guy, right? Well, yeah, he can be an old guy if you want him to be. Excuse me, there. He can be an old guy if you want him to be. And to me, who would be the best character for him? Well, I think in an adaptation, you kind of want to keep the character serious at times. So perhaps you might want to not really make him old. So if I was to pick anybody, quite honestly, I'd probably go with, and crazy as this sounds, I'd probably go with Russell Crowe. I'm not lying. You know, I know you're thinking, Russell Crowe. Yeah, because, you know, let's face it, he could do a good, if you give him the opportunity, he could probably pull off a good Clarence in this movie. I truly think so. And if you think anybody else could, that's fine. That's your opinion. Heck, you know what? Let's throw Jim Carrey in there. He could be a good Clarence too. So Crowe or Carrey, I think, could be a good Clarence. Now, as far as the Mr. Potts guy, or the guy that is the antagonist in the film, can't think of anybody better than the guy that's worked with Ben Affleck recently, and that's John Goodman, or even Danny DeVito. Get him in there. One of those two, in my opinion, could definitely play a good antagonist in the film. And I'm sure there's other actors and actresses out there that could play other characters. Like, let's say George's young brother, Harry. I think, honestly, give that, you may think I'm crazy for saying this, but give that to Shia LaBeouf. He's proven he can act. Give it to him. And I guarantee you, you would have something there. But that to me is who I think, but that to me is one of the first of the movies I think that can get remade, and basically who I think could play certain roles in the film. That's who I think. Now, speaking of classics, another movie that's kind of been, or story I should say, that's kind of been remade several different ways, whether it's made for television, whether it's, this and that, Invisible Woman. And I'm not talking about movies that are coming out that just have the title Invisible Woman and have nothing to do with invisibility. I'm talking about The Invisible Woman, to me, a family-friendly, if not romantic comedy that deals with the invisibility situation. And again, the actors and actresses to me I should say, that could pull off the lead character, the Invisible Woman if you will, to me it's like a who's who of young Hollywood. But I think the name that really comes up to me first is Anne Hathaway. It's Anne Hathaway as a top candidate and Kristen Stewart. Two top candidates. Because I think it was Kristen Stewart who was in Twilight. She can, I believe, take her out of that Twilight situation. I think she was in Twilight, I'm not sure. You take her out of that situation. Let me check. I got the movie Mirror, Mirror. I'm sure that's who I'm thinking. I'm not sure. Hold on, folks. I think it's Kristen Stewart. I'm not sure. Gotta look at my iPod here. Oops. I didn't need to do that. There we go. Check my time. I'm probably going to have to split this into a couple of parts, folks. So I will apologize for that. But Anne Hathaway or Kristen Stewart, if it's Kristen Stewart out of Twilight, who I think, again, my opinion, you take her out of that Twilight crap, and she could be a good actress, and put her in like a comedic environment, she could be a good actress. To me, in my honest opinion. But again, like I said, that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it just like you're entitled to yours. But again, like I said, you take her out of that Twilight crap, and to me, you take her out of that Twilight crap. If it is Kristen Stewart, I'm not sure. Or I'm trying to see who it is here. Oh, Lily Collins. That's who it is. Lily Collins. That's who it is. Kristen Stewart. Okay, so those are three candidates, in my opinion, of young Hollywood. Anne Hathaway, Kristen Stewart, and Lily Collins out of Mirror, Mirror, who I think if you give them, if you put them in that role, they could really pull it off. I truly think so. I truly think they could pull it off. They could really show a comedic side to them. Heck, if you want to add a fourth, add Amy Adams. She's proven she could do comedy. There's no doubt about that. I mean, okay, so there's your top four. My top four, in my opinion, that could pull off the lead role, the titular role of the Invisible Woman that deals with invisibility is a romantic comedy. That's who I think. Excuse me while I have to stop this because I'm going to have to go into two parts.